Chapter 17 Action Research in Medical Education. T.F. Carter, Push Recorder. Abstract. Action research is a systematic inquiry by the teachers in their respective work settings to improve their practice. The dilemma and the challenge lies in applying the principles of evidence-based medicine, which is becoming increasingly applied for all scholarly activities performed by the teachers in medical colleges with teaching, research, and administration. R has gained much more significance in the context of the revised competency-based MBBS medical curriculum rolled out by the National Medical Commission. There is an excellent opportunity as well as the challenge here for the teachers to become agents of curriculum change by designing and implementing innovative techniques of instruction and assessment. This chapter describes the role of art, its continuous cycle of planning a change, acting, and observing the consequences of the change, reflecting on the processes and replanning. Despite our being collaborative, democratic, emancipatory, and practical in nature, it has some flaws such as subjectivity, vulnerability to pressure, and time constraints. Key words: action research, evidence-based medicine, qualitative research. Assess need. Medical education in India is struggling to cope up with the phenomenal expansion as well as the need to ensure quality of its graduates in shouldering healthcare of 132 plus billion population. To achieve this gigantic task, research combined with faculty development becomes vital. The need for medical education research has been felt more and more in recent years. Among various approaches which are commonly discussed in MEUINDIA, the action research stands distinct because of its unique features. It is a systematic inquiry done by the teachers in their own work settings to improve their practice. It is simple, affordable, and authentic. Many teachers think that research requires sophisticated design, huge data analysis, and funding, which is something beyond their reach. They must realize that the environment where they are teaching is full of data. To conduct a high-quality action research, even with little knowledge in research methodology and data analysis. Unfortunately, most teachers are not familiar with the concept of action research, which is the focus of this chapter. R has gained all the more significance in the context of the revised competency-based MBBS medical curriculum rolled out by the National Medical Commission. There is an excellent opportunity as well as the challenge here for the teachers to become agents of curriculum change by designing and implementing innovative techniques of instruction and assessment. The dilemma and the challenge lie in applying the principles of evidence-based medicine and its correlates evidence-based medical education and evidence-based practice, which are becoming increasingly applied for all scholarly activities performed by the teachers in medical colleges with teaching, research, and administration. Brief. Meaning of action research and how is it different from other approaches. Attributes of key features of R. Steps involved in conducting R. R in the context of EBM and EBME. Publication issues. Critique of R. Contextualize. Let us discuss a case scenario in the context of a real educational dilemma faced by many of the Indian medical colleges and possibly elsewhere too during the COVID pandemic. Since 2019, a revised competency-based MBBS curriculum was launched by the National Medical Commission. It is a product of nationwide expert consultation taking into consideration the present and future needs of the society. However, a question arises, do we have any evidence to prove that the medical graduate coming out of this new curriculum is likely to fare better than the one who has emerged out of traditional curriculum? When the new curriculum was being launched, the COVID-19 broke out. The government and the regulating bodies directed for the immediate closure of all the medical colleges across the country and to send all the students back home as prophylactic measure against the spread of COVID-19. Further, all the colleges were also directed to adopt virtual mode of teaching and training to avoid disruption of students' course of studies. The teachers resorted to online clinical training sessions. They had no clue whether students were learning or not, and if they were, how effective it was. Reflect on this situation and think in what way this has implications for conducting action research. We will revisit this issue later in this chapter. Describe educational research versus action research. Hardin described 12 different roles spread over 6 areas of their day-to-day activity. The role as teacher, instructional designer, curriculum planner, resource material developer, or even administrator offers exciting opportunities for him or her to get attracted towards research. Educational research deals with the application of scientific methods and techniques to study and resolve educational problems. It primarily aims at improving the quality and efficiency of the teaching learning process. It serves four main purposes. First, it helps to develop new theories of teaching and learning. Second, it contributes to improved practice. Third, it can change a person from opinion-based teaching to evidence-based teaching. Fourthly, education research is a connecting link between education and the patient care. Action research is a term coined by Kurt Lewin in 1944. As the name implies, it is a type of research wherein the educators, while working in their work settings, encounter some problem or dilemma, conduct a systematic inquiry to find an answer to their problem. It has the potential to produce change quickly because the research is carried out by educators in their own work settings. R is aimed to bring about immediate and transformative changes through the processes of taking action and doing research simultaneously using critical reflection. In a nutshell, action research is research in action. Is R quantitative or qualitative? Despite its wider acceptance, there is still debate on whether R belongs to qualitative or quantitative research tradition. Some research scholars associate it with the qualitative tradition, while others assert that it relies more on quantitative inquiry. Because of its practical orientation, action research generally uses both quantitative and qualitative data. Qualitative research helps teachers to address the complexity of the classroom environment, while quantitative research helps to observe the impact of the new curriculum but does not help them to perceive the causes of those happenings. The teachers, through action research, can systematically study problems within their educational setting and contribute not only in applying knowledge but also in generating new knowledge. Attributes of R. The main attributes of R have been described by Lodico. 1. R is conducted in the teacher-researcher's own educational setting, and the teacher takes an active part in the research. 2. R involves collaboration with other colleagues involved in the educational process. 3. R focuses on taking action to change and improve educational practices. 4. R is an ongoing process and includes several waves of data collection, reflection, and action. In addition, other scholars have described some key features of R. The success of R depends on marshalling passion and building trust, wherein the teacher should act more as an active participant than an objective researcher. R is a method of progressive problem solving which makes extensive use of real-time scenarios, and R is value-laden. It refuses neutrality and instead finds ground for its inquiry in a setting where there are conflicting values or hierarchical differentials. It challenges traditional notions of power and values and investigates the problem by analyzing day-to-day realities. The methodology of research is flexible and tailor-made to suit the demand of the situation. It involves a wide plethora of methods, tools, and techniques which are found in the toolbox of educational researchers. Most importantly, in R, theory is prompted by practice, accompanied by observation, analysis, synthesis, reflection, and evaluation. Reflexivity is said to be an essential component of R because it aims to interrogate and examine the benefits of actions implemented in the end. Action research is fluid and flexible in nature, and hence one may expect some difficulty in following the steps serially. The action research cycle described by Cook and Cox provides a conceptual tool for conducting R in any setting. It consists of 5 stages with identifying an area of focus, developing an action plan, collecting data, analyzing and interpreting data, and reflecting. Some authors have described R as a self-reflective spiral of planning a change, acting and observing the consequences of the change, reflecting on the processes which goes on continuously. In the entire research process, there could be multiple cycles and multiple foci of the study. Figure 1 Action Research Cycle. Identify the problem by reflecting on the practice. Read the literature, set the problem in theoretical and research context, and make plan of action. Reflect on your experience and identify collaborators. Make a plan for data collection. Data analysis. While reflecting on what is learned, assess whether problems are solved, draw conclusions. Modify theory and plan the next cycle, and start again, publish. Steps in conducting action research. We invite the attention of readers to consider the scenario described in the contextualized section and appreciate the way we have related the same with the following steps. Step 1. Identifying the problem and formulating pertinent question. Here in our case, the problem faced by the teachers is the difficulty in imparting and assessing virtual clinical training to the students. If we convert this dilemma into an answerable question, the question shall be how to impart and assess the clinical training to the students virtually. The question can be related to curricular issues, instructional strategy, or student assessment issues. Step 2. Developing a plan of action. Performing a thorough literature search to find out the various methods suggested to teach and assess clinical skills virtually is the next step of R. Several methods such as using written case scenarios, use of video clips, clinical demonstrations using volunteers, and usage of the virtual patients were explored to be possible solutions. In our setup, written case scenarios and use of video clips were used by our teachers. Assessment of clinical training through virtual mode, though far from being ideal, was done devising suitable tools in the form of questionnaires, checklists, etc. Each idea was implemented stepwise, keeping in mind the time required for the same. Step 3. Collecting the data. Before the commencement of the clinical training, it was decided as what kind of data will be helpful for R and how to collect it. Apart from the data to know whether the learning has happened, the practicality, student acceptance of the method was also obtained in the form of feedbacks. Meaningful data was collected from previous records and other daily records like attendance logs, internal assessment marks of the students. Step 4. Data analysis and conclusions. Simultaneous and frequent examination of the data during the collection process helped us to modify the action plan. The analysis of the data made our teachers to reflect on what actually was happening, guiding them to alter the teaching or assessing methodology. Tentative solutions for effective virtual clinical training were drawn from analysis. The results were discussed with other teachers in the monthly departmental faculty development meetings, and after incorporating the valuable feedbacks from both the teachers and the students, the conclusions were drawn or the plan was refined. Step 5. Modification of theory and repetition of the R cycle. New cycle began again in light of the previous findings. New theory and modified plan of action and collection of data again continued. A new question may be formulated addressing another problem. For example, the virtual clinical training can be commenced with the trained teachers and focus of R can shift to measuring effectiveness of the virtual mode by collecting an altogether a different kind of data. Step 6. Reporting of the results. While the ultimate goal of the R is to promote effective change in the institution, the value of sharing the results with colleagues, other stakeholders, and publishing it at least in an institutional or educational journal is equally important. Translation of R. The paradigm of evidence-based medicine, a five-step approach, is a time-tested tool for translating research into practice. Extrapolating to R, its findings will have to be critically appraised for rigor and validity before application. In the process of R, since the teacher is conducting the systematic inquiry, rigor and validity of R can be questioned. In order to overcome this limitation, we suggest the need for a critical appraisal of R by a peer so that the research findings can be declared more trustworthy. Thus, R should selectively assimilate the practice of evidence-based medical education for teaching, evidence-based medicine for patient care, and evidence-based management for administration, respectively. This requires creation of awareness and the training of teachers as action researchers as essential requirement within an institution. The capabilities of medical teachers both to conduct R and also to critically appraise the same will go a long way in the progress of medical education. Quality evidence synthesis. In R, broad generalizations are made from specific or focused observations. That means R is always inductive. Action researchers typically look at reality and try to develop a theory from the observations made and data collected from the class. R places its emphasis on the local problems in a local setting. Its findings are to be evaluated in terms of local applicability, not universal validity. As in qualitative research, there is no hypothesis tested in R and focus is on the understanding the phenomena, meanings, perceptions, concepts, thoughts, and related experiences or feelings. An added advantage of R can be that more number of teachers can be involved in research activities simultaneously. There is ongoing debate on whether or not quality assessment should be part of quality evidence synthesis, and if so, how to distinguish high quality studies from others. Quality, goodness, validity, trustworthiness, credibility, and workability have all been suggested as terms to describe criteria for good action research. In a recent review by Cohen and Crabtree, quality dimensions in existing appraisal instruments have been explored with researcher bias, validity, reliability, importance, clarity and coherence, ethics, and the use of appropriate and rigorous methods. The reviewers recommend the use three separate tools for three different purposes. Critical appraisal skills program tool for novice researchers as it is a popular and user-friendly. Evaluation tool for qualitative studies for providing more detailed instructions on how to interpret criteria. And Joanna Briggs Institute tool for its focus on congruity and being the most coherent. There are several other critical appraisal tools available for determining the quality of R. Mostly they are grounded in qualitative research discussed elsewhere in this book. Publication of action research. The common question that comes in the mind of a novice researcher is what all can be included in the action research report so that it gets published. All the steps followed in the conduct of R can be included sequentially in the chronological order. Adopting the time-tested IMRAD format if possible can be an advantage. Making use of the Lockwood's ladder of publishing can be of great help, which provides a framework by which emergent scholars can progress from modest report shared with their colleagues in a safe environment to authoritative peer-reviewed publication. Critique of action research. Despite our being applied, emancipatory, and practical, it may have following flaws as well. Subjectivity, when left unchecked, results of R may be laden with researchers' subjectivity. Vulnerability to pressure. Researcher, by virtue of being a junior or subordinate in the organizational settings, might be coerced to alter the findings by the seniors to suit organizational objectives. Time consuming. Because of our cyclical nature, there is a possibility that initial research question, depending upon the initial findings, might get refined several times and thereby the refining of methodology taking time, making the entire research process time consuming. There is no clear time limit as when the research has to be stopped because technically it stops only when the problem is resolved. Knowledge generation. Sometimes the R can be unpredictable and may fail to be included in referred journals. Some of the educators have disapproved of Ra's a true research, saying that it's nothing more than the application of common sense. Notwithstanding this criticism, it definitely promotes application of scientific thinking and methods to solve real-life problems and represents a great improvement over teachers' subjective judgments and decisions based upon traditional beliefs. Ethical issues in action research. Ethical dilemmas are intrinsic components of art precisely because of its collaborative nature and of the diverse motivations, perspectives, and institutional roles held by its participants. Since R involves reflective contributions of many teacher researchers, ethical issues are bound to arise when she engages in technical, practical, or critical models of R. Hence, there is a need to anticipate these ethical issues well before and be prepared to address them through honest dialogue with all the participants. Teacher researchers are teachers first, and generally they respect the colleagues with whom they work, openly sharing information about their research. While they seek knowledge, they also care for the well-being of both students and professional colleagues. Many of the ethical issues of R can be resolved by following the golden rule defined by Smith of asking the following questions to ourselves with: what are the likely consequences of this research? How well do they fit with my own values and priorities? If I were a participant, would I want this research to be done? What changes might I want to make me feel comfortable? Ethical issues in conducting action research are the same as those applicable for other types of research which have been discussed elsewhere in this book. However, since the researcher is insider, it is necessary to wear a neutral lens for both the researcher and the ethics committee, which can be challenging. Summarize the change over to competency-based medical education, the surge of COVID-19 pandemic, and the urgent need for out-of-the-box solutions have created fertile soil for planting action research. We have elaborated on the meaning and key features of R. We have outlined the steps of designing R and discussed how R can be aligned with the current trend of EBM. Deliberating on the strengths and weaknesses of R, we have concluded that R is an effective approach in the Indian context and it should be considered seriously by the researchers in health profession. Evaluate. After reading this chapter, take up the following assignment. Think of one educational problem which you face in your setting. Formulate a research question. Make an outline of steps which you would adopt to convert this into an action research project. Road ahead. Those who would like to pursue action research may consult the following open resources. 1. A handbook for exploratory action research. 2. Action Research Northeast and Islands Regional Educational Laboratory at Brown University by Eileen Farage, https://www.brown.edu/academics/education alliance. Sites divided by brown.edu.academics.education alliance. Files, publications divided by actresearch.pdf. 3. Center for Education Innovation. http c.hkust.edu.hk/teaching resources action research. 4. Action research. WHO World Health Organization https://www.who.it Alliance HPSR resources by L. Gilson. The opportunities for action research come from local contexts of research. Be vocal on local. The medical education unit's curriculum committees can play mentoring role and form communities of practice. The leadership should recognize the value of art and make suitable policy to recognize and reward art. The avenues of publication at the local, national, and international level should be explored. The medical education networks in India and abroad, many universities of health sciences and centers of excellence also provide forums for sharing the reports of art.